Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to do a simple activity. Yesterday on a walk, I found an apple, and remember we did the rhyme? One little apple hanging on a tree, one little apple looking down at me. I shook that tree as hard as I could. Down fell the apple. Was it good? Today I'm going to use the same apple that I found on the ground, and often you'll see wild apple trees. You could pick up an apple. You don't need to waste food. A lot of people say, oh, I don't like to do those activities because it's a wasting food. And to begin with, I'm cutting my apple in half. And I'm going to have my child look inside because when you have half an apple, you can see the seeds. And that's a great way to talk to children about growing things because fruit has seeds inside. So you don't want your child to eat apple seeds. They're not very good for you. But what we're going to do is paint with them. Now, a lot of people will say right away, I have no paint in my house. I can't do this activity. Well, you can. If you have flour and some food coloring, you can make your own paint. No, it'll be a little different than the normal paint, but it works quite well. When I was a child, we used to do this quite a bit, just because my mother wasn't going to buy paint. There was 5 of us. And secondly, because it's good for children to learn to use what they have. It makes you resourceful. And resourceful people are people who are creative and have ideas. So I've separated my flour into 3, but actually if I had a child at the beginning, I would just make one color. So I'm going to pour a little water on each one, and I would actually do this with 3 bowls, not a plate, if I wanted 3 colors. And I'm going to have them mix it up until it's a consistent. Because I'm using a plate, I've changed my mind. It's another thing about being resourceful, is allow yourself to make mistakes and keep going. So I'm mixing the flour and water up until it's a thin, pasty consistency. And here it goes, and I'm going to have my child do this, of course, and I'm going to turn tape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, my turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your turn. Turn taking is such an important skill, particularly as a lot of children have not been exposed to those opportunities because of the pandemic. So we want to make sure that we're encouraging this. Now I have, you can see, sort of a pasty consistency. I'm going to ask my child, if they're a little older, what color they think an apple is. They might say red. So I'm going to add a few drops. Let your child do this if they're old enough, because this squeezing motion is great for fine motor, building up our finger strength for writing. And they're going to squeeze a drop of red, and I'm going to mix that up. And now you'll see that some of my flour is red. And then if I wanted to use 2 or 3 colors, I might say, what other color do you think an apple is? Well, this one is green because there's green apples. So I'm going to put a little bit of food coloring, and I'm going to mix it up, and I'm going to get green. In my case, because I've used the same fork without dipping it in, mine is sort of an unusual green, but it works just fine. What other color do you think apples are? Depending on the age of your child and their experiences, they may say yellow because there's yellow apples, golden delicious apples are yellow. And so they would put a drop of yellow. And as I say, you can do this with 1 color. And at the beginning with a young child, I certainly would only use 1. So now I have yellow, red, and green. And I've made a kind of paint. Now I'm going to have my child take the apple, and I'm going to have them dip it in one of the colors. And you can see they've dipped it in. They might want to move it around depending on their sensory needs. I've got a big piece of paper. You could use an old piece of cardboard. You could use the back of a cereal box, anything you have at hand. And I'm going to take my apple, and I'm going to make prints with it. Now, I'm going to show you. You're going to see I have 3 apple prints. Now I might decide I want to put some yellow apples. So I'm going to dip the apple and I'm going to make some yellow prints. But because I've used the same apple, you're going to see a little red in there. Now your child may do this a lot or a little. Another thing, if they're having a hard time or they don't enjoy the feel of that, is to do it this way. Get a plastic fork and poke it far in, and then they can use their, then they don't need to get their hands messy. Some children do not like sensory, that's okay. Then you're going to introduce it gradually, and getting frustrated with your child and telling them just to pick it up or touch it doesn't work. Some people naturally feel a little bit uncomfortable with different feels. So in this case, and also if my child had a hard time grasping the apple, this allows them to more easily manipulate it. Now I'm going to dip it in the green. And now I have lovely apple prints. And I've made those with nothing more than flour, water, and a little food coloring, and an apple that I found on the ground. So I hope you try this. It is a very inexpensive activity, and paint can be made in a variety of colors this way. That way you're not having to run out to the store and be buying paints every day. Okay, take care, and I hope you try this activity today.